Okay, we are live. Thanks for joining us tonight, everyone. We're talking about tax advantage. My name is Rick Wilson. I work for USANA in the IT department. My team builds these tools. We're joined tonight by Lori Mulhorn. She's going to be helping us with the question and answer section. Thank you so much, Lori. We appreciate it. And I'm going to jump right into it. Tax advantage. Now, one thing I want to point out with tax advantage is it's only available in some of our markets. I believe it's available in the US, in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. It has never been ported to any of the other markets, and we don't really receive many requests for it, so I don't think there's any plans in the near future to do so. Those of you that do have it, though, it's an amazingly powerful tool once you know what it's for and how to use it. What we're going to go over tonight is why use tax advantage. You know, what's the advantage to tax advantage? The calendaring, different views within those, events, how to add events, manage events, edit events, delete events, tasks, expenses, the different options you can set up on the system, the reports, which are probably one of the most powerful parts of the tax advantage, and then the tax calculator, which I'll spend a little time on, I think is pretty great in helping you actually sell USANA as a business, and I'll show you how to use that. Okay, to start off, I'm gonna start off with the why. Okay, so you all are personal business people. You run your own private business. You're working from home, and doing so, you actually have some special privileges in the tax codes. If you are using a cell phone as part of your business, if you're meeting people for lunch or on the golf course, if you are doing any of these regular day-to-day activities that you do anyways, but you're using it to help promote your business, you probably have some tax write-offs in there, what we call expenses, that you can write off at the end of the year on your Schedule C. Tax Advantage is a tax journal that we actually designed with the help of some retired IRS attorneys so that it would be as bulletproof as possible when you finish these expenses at the end of the year and do your taxes, or if you do them quarterly, you can do the same. The one thing that most people don't realize is that they actually can give themselves a multi-thousand-dollar bonus every year just by tracking their expenses and turning that over to their accountant, or if they do their own taxes, doing their Schedule C. The other thing that's great about Tax Advantage versus, say, a normal tax journal is that it ties it in with your calendar. So if you're going to lunch with someone to talk about USANA, you put that in your calendar here, but you also can tie the expenses. So the miles you use to get to that location, what it cost for the meal, maybe in entertainment, you went golfing afterwards, all of that is expenses. You talk to them on the phone using your cell phone to make sure they're going to be there. All that kind of stuff has some or 100%, anywhere from 50 to 100% of that could possibly be written off. And then finally, if you have Income Maximizer and you're in one of those countries I mentioned before, you already have tax advantage. It doesn't cost you any extra. If you're already using the full version of DLM, then you have tax advantage within those countries that it's supported. All right, so I'm going to actually jump into the system now. If I can press the right button. There we go. So how you get to tax advantage is under the Income Maximizer menu item. If you're in one of the supporting countries, it's right here, right below web hosting. You go ahead and click on that. And it takes you to this page here. And what you're looking at is the landing page of the income maximizer. Your calendar is right here in the middle. You have your to-do, your tasks right here on the side. You can quickly add a new task anytime you want with this. So if I want to call Dad, hit quick add, and call Dad is in there. Also, the calendar is completely clickable. You don't have to go anywhere to add an event. If you just want to add an event, that's all you do. I'm going to hit back real fast because we're not going to do that right now. It looks like I added Dad twice by doing that. As far as viewing your calendar, you can change the view. This is the daily view that we're seeing right now. You can switch to weekly view just by clicking weekly, monthly, and annual or yearly. I'm going to go back to daily for now. Like I said before, everything's clickable on here. So you want to click the time, you want to click the slot, you want to click on one of your task items, whatever you need to do. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to actually add an event. There are multiple ways to add an event in. Say I'm going to go golfing. So I have lunch with Bob Denver at noon, but maybe at 2 I'm going to go golfing with Sally. If I could type today. Golfing with Sally. Type is appointment, business, education. I choose the type of event it's going to be. And I'm just going to call it an appointment for now. Now here's a pretty slick feature here. Once you've entered in an event in the past, it will remember your who's and your where's. So if I'm a regular at the Applebee's, I don't have to enter Applebee's every time I set up an event. Instead, it will remember it for me. So I'm going to go in here and see if I've ever done anything with Sally before. I haven't. So I'm going to put Sally in here. Let's say her name is Sally Jones. And we're going golfing. And it doesn't look like I've ever golfed here before. So the location is going to be Super Golf. We'll make up a name for a golf course. So we're going to Super Golf. You'll notice I have miles here. If I already know how many miles it is from my home to golfing, or wherever the location is that I am before I go golfing, I can enter that in now. Or I can come back later and edit this event, which is what the system is really designed for. It's designed so that you can enter events sometime in the future, and then, or sometime in the past, when the event happens and you actually know what your expenses are, you'll come back to that event and add your expenses. So for now, I'm going to say I don't know what the miles are, and I don't know any of the expenses. I don't know which vehicle I'm going to be using. I wanted to show this though, the add edit vehicle. I can add and remove as many vehicles as I want with ease, and I think that just by doing that it actually changed my background screen. So I'm going to enter this in real fast again. Alright, so basically my event is set up. I can set a priority on it, high, medium, low. I can put a description in. And I can set a time. If it's an all-day event, a timed event, I'm going to say it's from 2 p.m. and let's say we're going to take 2 hours to golf. I'm not much of a golfer, so I don't know if that's how long it takes. I think Lori could correct me. And then repeating. and then repeating. If it is a repeating event, if it is not, you just click on that. It'll allow you to modify what kind of repeat it is. I'm going to say this is not a repeating event, and then I'm going to save it. And I can either save, or I can save and add another event. So I'm going to just hit save. And the event is there. It looks like it did add it the first time. I'm going to delete that first one. And then if I end up on the landing page again, you'll see there's Golfing with Sally at Super Golf, and then my description. Time is from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So we're good. At any time, I can come back and click on this event, which will give me the details, but also allow me to put in my expenses. You'll notice that the screen looks different than when I first entered it, and that's because it switched over mostly to a expense tracking mode. And if I wanted to change the details on it, so maybe Sally called and said, you know what, 2 doesn't work for me, how about 3? I could just hit edit event, and it would take me back to the screen that would show me all those original fields. Otherwise, I'm in expense mode, where I now can add my miles. So let's say it was 34 miles, and which vehicle I'm going to use. And if I did any expenses here, so in this case I went golfing, so I want to say it cost me $60. The expense type is entertainment other. And if I have a sub-expense, there's no sub-expense here. I do have the ability to create sub-expenses, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. But I can hit add expense. And now that expense is tied to this event. So if anyone ever comes back to audit me, I can show alongside my receipt the actual event that went along with this, with all of the details. This keeps track of all of it. This is where the expense journal portion comes in. So I told you there was more than one way to add an event. The way we did it here was to just click on the calendar itself. You also have this up here, this tab that says add event, and it goes to the same exact spot. We also have the ability to see all of our events outside of calendaring. So if I just click on events, this actually shows me all of the events that I've ever entered, and I can choose how I view those. So in this case, we're viewing by date, and so the most recent one that I've added, which is Golfing with Sally, is the top. If I were to click here, it changes it so it goes all the way back to my October 29th events. And there's no limit on the number of years kept in here. So if you've been with USANA for 20 years, we're going to keep your expenses here in your calendar. So if you are ever audited or curious, or you had some information in an event, you're like, I know I had Sally's phone number back in 2012, January 2012, but I can't remember it now. But I know I put it in the event so I could talk to her. All your events are here, and they're all backed up online, so you never have to worry about losing any of these events or the expenses tied with the events. So that's a good thing. The next thing I want to show you are expenses, and we kind of touched on this within an event itself. Just like events, you have multiple ways of entering expenses, and I want to preface that with there are multiple types of expenses too. So I'm going to start you off with just the standard type of expense. In this case with Sally, we went golfing, and I entered in an expense of entertainment because we were golfing and talking about our USANA business. I also put in here the miles. Miles are a different kind of expense from your entertainment. And so that's why they're kept separately. You're not going to enter your miles into your expenses. The third type of expense is what we call an asset, and I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes. With regard to this expense, I have tied golfing to this particular event, but I'm not required to tie an expense to an event, nor am I required to make an event have an expense. So in that case, if I wanted to create an event like I'm going to walk the dog, that's just for me, and it has nothing to do with my business, but it helps me remember, oh yeah, I've got to get home and walk the dog. You don't have to tie any expenses to it. You can still keep it in here, and that won't have any effects on your tax journal. That's just fine. As far as expenses without events, to add those, we're going to go back up to the tabs up here, and there's one that says Add Expense. If I click on that, this is the screen it takes me to. At the bottom, you'll notice the expense. The expense that I added earlier today. This is just a view of all the expenses that have been added during this session, so that I can quickly go back and forth and say, oh yeah, I need to add this to that expense. So let's say we were doing some advertising and that had no event related to it. I'm going to advertise using, say, a newspaper ad, and I'm doing that today, and let's say that cost me $350. And if I want to, from this section, this is something I need to show you too. I added that golfing expense from the golfing event, but I could have just come here too and selected Golfing with Sally, the event here. So there's multiple ways to tie these together if I need to. You can have some expenses that repeat. So one example might be your cell phone. Your cell phone can be written off as an expense, at least in part, if you're using it for your business. And let's say you get billed monthly from AT&T. You could set up that expense to recur monthly, and you can set it to when that expires. So you may have another type of expense. Maybe you're receiving a special magazine that you use for your business, and you've paid for an annual subscription. You could set it to repeat the subscription once a year for the next 2 years, because you don't know if you're going to use it beyond that point. So one thing you need to always do with your expenses is put in a description, because if anyone ever comes back to you and asks about that expense, you may not remember all the details 3 years from now, nor would an auditor believe you 3 years from now that you remember all the details, even if you made it up. So you want to put into your details exactly, where, the who, what, when, where, and why. Possibly the how. But you always want to have all of this information. So in this case, the who is, this is my advertising campaign on the newspaper for my USANA business. That would also be the what, but the who is going to be the newspaper ad, as well as who my audience is. The what is going to be the actual newspaper ad itself. The when is going to be the date that ran. The where, not all of these always fit in exactly. The where would just be from my local home to the community, and then the why is, obviously to promote my business and build my downline, get more inquiries into the USANA business. And that's really all you have to do. You hit save. You'll notice that expense has now been added down here, advertising. But if you look at the event, it is not tied to anything as far as an event, because there was no actual event that I made for this. To view all of my events, I can go up and view the tab up here. It says events. I click on that. And again, just like the, oh sorry, I clicked on the wrong, to view expenses, my apologies. Click on the expenses tab. It's just like the events view screen where I can I can sort by different types. So recorded date is what we're looking at here. If I were to change it, now it goes back to 2002, and I can see all of those. And then another thing I need to show you is this great big red text at the top, hard to miss. It's got money next to it on either side. What this is this is an automatic import for purchases that you've made. And so if you are using USANA products as part of your marketing, so you're giving away products to promote your business, you can actually write those off as advertising in some cases. And so in this case, maybe the health packs, definitely I would not write off maybe, but maybe I gave away some Pure Rest and some Nutrimil and some vitamin D. So the rest of them I'm just going to delete. I can change the amount, so maybe I only gave away half of the Pure Rest or something like that. I could change the amount. Once I'm done, I hit record expenses. Those expenses have now been recorded. If I go into the expenses, I can now see those added in down here. So the next thing I need, oh, and you notice the bar disappeared. Anytime you have new purchases, that bar that says you have new expenses to approve will show up at the top here. Now it's gone because I've used it. Okay, assets. I told you there are multiple types of expenses. An asset is an expense that is not written off. Apologize if I'm explaining this poorly. It's going to be something that loses value over time. So an asset would be, say, a computer is an asset, and I think it is. A car is definitely an asset. If you're buying a car strictly for your business, there are two ways you can get write-offs. You can either track the miles, or you can expense a percentage of that, the value of that vehicle plus the maintenance cost, which includes fuel. If you do it that way, that's considered an asset, and it will depreciate over time, meaning if I have a $10,000 car, over the next 5 years it will go from a value of $10,000 to $0, and each year I will get to write off as an asset $2,000 of the value of that vehicle as a loss. So it's kind of difficult to explain. If you want to learn more about assets, I would encourage you to talk to your accountant. They're going to know a lot more about it than I can tell you, and they're probably going to be able to tell you in a way that makes more sense to you. But basically, an asset is a large thing, a large something that you know, like a vehicle, or in some cases computers, that depreciate over time, and that depreciation is a loss to your business, so you get to write off that loss. All right. Tasks. I showed you on the front page how to add a task quickly. We also at the top have this Add Task tab. And it's just like the other two tabs, just like adding an event or an expense. It just has more detailed information here. Works just like your Outlook does. We also have this tab over here, which is a view. I guess I should point out that the light blue tabs over here are your add activities. So add an event, add a task, add an expense. The second section of tabs here, the dark blues, those are your calendar views. And then this last set of dark blue tabs is your view of each of these things. So I can see all events, all tasks, expenses, assets, and miles. So in this case, I'll go to tasks, and I can see all tasks, including the ones that I've already checked off. So tax journal training down here. If I click on that, that's going to show me this training from 2005. And I can actually go back and change it if I want. I can delete it. I can edit it. Whatever I need to do, I can change it so that it's not complete. So I thought I completed it, but I didn't. Hit edit task. And save. And now it is unchecked. So if I go to my landing page, tax journal training is now up there. This very, very last tab here that says options, I need to show you what this does. But before I go there, take a look at this calendar view day here. I've got it set up to run from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. If I click on options, it will allow me to change the increments that you view that calendar as. So 15-minute, half hour, an hour. How many hours in that day I can view, 8, 10, all the way up to 20. And then what time of the day that calendar starts at. So if I wanted, let's say I wanted to actually have a 12-hour day and I wanted it to start at 7 a.m., hit Save Options, and now my calendar view starts at 7 a.m. and goes till 7 p.m., a full 12-hour calendar day that starts at 7, ends at 7. That's all your options really do. Pretty easy to set up. There's also, so that's options. There's another type of options screen over here that's related to your reports called Edit My Business, over here on the left-hand side. If I click on that, this is going to have my business information, which will be used for my reports. So in this case, I can say, let's say my business is BizWorks. And then I put my first name, last name, email or address, my country, my language, and then what currency do I use. And let's see if I can find it on here. American dollar. Save information. And now BizWorks is my company, as you can see up here. Moving on to the reports, this is probably one of the most important reasons to use an electronic tax journal versus a handwritten tax journal. Within here, because this user's data goes back to 2004, I can create reports all the way back to 2004 anytime I want. In this case, I can see all expenses ordered by date or ordered by category, or I can specify a date range. If you are one of those lucky individuals that make so much money that you have to do your taxes quarterly, you would use this date range to get your expenses. Charitable giving, which is a type of expense. We have a special report for that because it has a special tax form when you're doing your taxes in the US and Canada. Miles, so if you entered your miles, I'll just open this up real fast. All of these reports kind of look like this. So my golfing with Sally accrued me 34 miles. over the course of 2012, I'll probably have thousands and thousands of miles that I get to write off at whatever cents per mile. It adds up quick, so it's something definitely worth tracking. And then finally, and probably most importantly, this is this section for your Schedule C. If I were a Canadian user, I would actually, I think it's the T2421, which is just like the US Schedule C. It's a special report that is for your tax return that shows all of your expenses so that you can get credit for that when you do your taxes. To use this, just click on the Schedule C itself. It's going to pull up a little screen here. It's got my name. I'm going to put in my social. We do not ever provide your social, even though we do have it on our back-end system. None of our front-end systems will ever retain your tax IDs for security reasons. So you will always have to put in your tax ID. Principal profession, this is up to you. Whatever you want to be, independent associate, however you word it for your country or your state, however you do it, you'll put that in. I can put USANA distributor. BizWorks is the name I just entered. There's the address. And here's all the information that it's collected through my expenses that I've tracked so far. And the great part is that I can modify these. So I may have a whole bunch of stuff in my tax journal and my tax advantage, but I don't have everything. Well, this gives you the ability to go back through and modify that so that it is correct. And anytime you need to, you can see where we got that number from by clicking See Details. It'll pop up and say, oh, well, in this case, someone entered dang car, but I can see what my expense was so that it gets written off there. When I'm all done and I think I'm ready, all I have to do is click the button at the bottom that says Create Schedule C, and you'll see here that it gives me a PDF, which on my machine actually downloads it. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like right here. This is actually one I made up right before we started the presentation, but you can see in this case I had Bob Tester and Healthy for Life Incorporated. But you can see what the Schedule C looks like. It's an official tax form. This particular one is the 2009, but we could have very easily done the 2011 since we already have all that information in our tax journal. And that is not it. I have one more thing. I told you about the tax calculator at the beginning. Now before I show you this, I want to tell you why this is important. You're out there trying to get people to sign up for USANA. And I know you guys are really good at this, but no matter how good you are, it's hard to convince people, hey, you need to set up a USANA business. It's going to change your life. The tax calculator is actually very cool for two reasons. One, it can help you kind of decide what it is you should be writing off as an expense, but also it can be used as a prospecting tool. And I'm going to click on it so you see what it looks like. So it pops open this little screen here. You'd have to be brain dead not to own a home-based business. And then it's got a little quote from Sandy Bodkins, which he used to do a lot of presentations for USANA. He was a major senior IRS attorney at one time, and now he's an independent speaker. Anyways, you hit continue, and it asks you a number of questions. So enter your annual gross household income for last year. So in this case, it says 62,000. You change that to whatever you want. Enter amount of additional income you expect to earn with your USANA health science business. So in this case, it said $2,600. Select your filing status. We have multiple statuses here. It'll say married, filing jointly. How many children do you support? I have 4 kids. How many children do you have between ages 7 and 18? In my case, I have 1. And then, do you have a spouse or partner? Yes. Do you own a car? Yes. Estimate savings. So just a couple of questions there. And it brings this up. And it says, without USANA, this is how much you're going to be paying in your taxes. With USANA, it's showing that this person is going to make, or is going to get to write off $1,940. Now, if you remember on that last screen, I only expected to earn $2,600 over the course of next year, of this next coming year with USANA, but I also get this $1,900 to put in my pocket. So it adds up, and if you put bigger numbers in there, obviously it's going to be a better thing. But what's really cool is if you click this advanced calculation details, you click on that, and it's going to break it down for you. So here's kind of the top level thing you saw before. Below, it's actually telling you what's going on. Where are these calculations? And you can tweak it. So it says, oh, okay, you've got child tax credits, and in this case, it's telling you, hey, you know what? You could pay your child, your one child. In my case, my one child is between 7 and 18. I could pay them almost $600 and write it off. And you may be asking, well, what would I pay them for? Is that their allowance? No, this would be things like they could help you stuff envelopes, or if you're golfing or something with Sally, maybe your daughter comes with you and she's bragging about how great the USANimals are, and whatever. There are ways that you can put your children to work legally and actually write off the money that you pay them. Charitable giving, car value, percent used for business here, meals, trips, rent and mortgage. If you're using a section of your home for your business, you can legally write off that section of the home. As long as you only use that section of the home for your business, you can write it off on your as an expense. So, it'd be smart to set up a desk somewhere in a corner, and you only use that desk for your business. And in some cases, people have an entire room, an office, that they can write off. Just keep in mind that if you're ever audited, you have to prove that you only use that space for your business. You can't use it for anything else. It cannot be a homework table. You cannot do your video games there. You can't do your scrapbooking there. It's only your business. Computer value, phones, internet. I'm assuming all of you have internet because you're online with me right now. You get to write off internet if you have a home-based business. Banking costs, tax preparation. If you're taking your taxes to an accountant, you get to write off the cost of that accountant. Business cards. I'm assuming most of you have business cards. Other sales aids, such as newspaper ads, maybe you're advertising on Google, all of that gets to be written off. You all probably remember when you enrolled, you paid for a starter kit. Well, guess what? The starter kit was an expense. USANA Health Sciences products and promotional giveaways. And again, this is all theoretical. You'll want to work with your accountant to make sure what you're writing off is correct for your location. But the point here is that this can help you pinpoint some things you may have not been thinking about as a possible tax write-off, as an expense. And more importantly, this is something you can use to upsell people on your USANA business. Why do you want to have a USANA business? Well, why wouldn't you want to have one? You get to write everything off. And this can help them see that. One thing I want to make a suggestion to you, if you have Income Maximizer, you have a distributor website. I would strongly encourage you to come into Tax Advantage, click on the tax journal, copy this link here that is the tax calculator. You can actually hit the tax calculator from outside of USANA today. You don't have to be logged in. So you could put this link on your website. You could put this link on your business card. You can put this link in an e-card, in an email, wherever you want to put it. It has changed. It has stayed the same as far as the URL since 2004. We're not going to change the URL in the future. Just like I said, it's another prospecting tool. If they're interested in the business side, this could be a fun tool to work with. All right, so that is everything about the tax journal that I have to talk about right now, at least everything I'm thinking of. I'm going to now move on to the question and answer section. So, and Lori, I didn't know if you were going to help out with this or not.
I definitely am. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. I have a question from Victoria. First, I want to tell you, you did an amazing job, and this is an amazing system. So I'm really excited about being on the call with you to share that. So thank you very much for doing these trainings. Right? Okay. Let me get to a couple questions. Victoria asks, when entering the expense, can you add one from a previous or past year?
Okay, so Victoria, your question is, can you enter an expense from a previous year? The answer is absolutely yes. So to do that, I would just hit Add Expense, and in the date, I would just go backwards in time. Say I wanted to do 2000. In this case, I say I want to do lodging. I don't have a sub. Let's do one that doesn't need a sub expense. Postage and shipping. Costs, let's say $25, and not tied to an event, does not repeat. Shipping, if I could spell, and hit save. And if you'll see down here, I now have an expense in 2002. So the answer is yes.
Awesome, thank you. Another question, when you had that red bar up earlier on the screen that, you know, said update your expenses, or you have expenses that you need to give attention to, once you clear those out, is there any way to get those back?
Unfortunately, no. So the question was that red bar that showed at the top that said you have expenses to approve. Once you've cleared those out, they're gone. So unfortunately, if you had one on there that you needed to enter but you deleted it for whatever reason, or you'll have to go in and add an expense manually for that product.
Okay, great. And then can you import an event from another system? So, you know, let's say we have a webinar that we're going to be hosting or something. Can you import it anyway, or do you have to manually enter them?
Okay, so right now we do not have any way to import events from, say, a calendar event on your Outlook or anything like that. We are looking at upgrading Income Maximizer in the future, and that is a that's a function that is probably highest on the request list. Unfortunately, right now it has to be done manually.
Okay, super. A few more here, and in the task section, what does, if you would go there, I think There we go. Save status. So the status, why don't you go to the entering a task, add task over there instead of your view. Okay. There was a section, I'm not sure where this was. It says, in task, what does save status stand for? So save status meaning you've completed the action or not?
Yeah. So I think I know. So the question is, what is save status in relation to a task? And that's actually on the task view screen here. It says save status. So the status is whether it's been completed or not. And you'll notice that there are purple lines and then there are light gray and white alternating lines. The purple lines mean that the task has been completed. So if it's completed, it has a checkbox under status. So this is the status section. And in this case, it says that the first one, call dad, is complete. The status is complete. Whereas the second call dad here is incomplete. The setup meeting with Sam is incomplete. The call Paul is incomplete. Tax journal training. So we just did tax journal training. So I'll mark that as complete. I can do that from here, or I can do that from the calendar screen that you saw there before. But basically I click on that, hit save status, and now that status has been updated to be complete.
Great. Thank you.
And
okay,
in fact,
if you would go to the, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, before we go to the next question, I was going to show that that's also right here. All I have to do is click call dad, remove checked tasks. And so what I've actually done, I haven't actually removed anything. I've just changed its status. So now I go back into tasks, and call dad, you see, is now checked. So it was just another way to save the status.
Awesome. Okay, in your event section, when you're adding an event, in that reminder, the description section, what I like to use this for is to remind myself what to bring. So in your why description details section, you could also say stuff like Health and Freedom newspaper, bring a rev sample, some bars, etc. And so that could be part of your journaling as far as using your taxes. Is that a good idea there?
I don't know if I understand the question completely.
Okay, see, you went golfing with Sally. Why don't we go to that event?
Okay.
By the way, golfing is 4 to 6 hours. Plan a little longer event there. Okay, so in that description, you can write yourself a note as far as bring Rev 3, bring samples of bars, bring a Health and Freedom newspaper. So not only what you're going to be doing as a description, you could also be doing, reminding yourself what you need to bring her, give her sampling or something. Is that what you're using that for also? You
can absolutely do that. You can put anything you want in there as long as it also contains the why. If there's going to be any expenses tied to this event, you have to have the why, but that you're not limited to the why. You can definitely put in any other information you would typically put in a calendaring application like Outlook. So in this case, bring Rev 3, and so hit save, and now that event has bring Rev 3 associated with it. So yeah, you can do it. And it actually shows up here on the calendar page itself, although it doesn't format it as nicely.
Oh, I love it. Now, if you go back into that event, you could also add the expense to what you're bringing on the bottom.
Exactly.
Right down there.
So if I...
Okay, love that. Love it.
So I put $50. Great. In that case, I'm going to use it as advertising, maybe. Where's my advertising? Travel, miscellaneous insurance. There it is. Advertising, I'm giving it away. Hit other and add expense. And I now have Rev 3 tied to this event.
Love that. Now, can you, is this go along with that other answer? Can you forward this meeting and invite Sally right from here onto an e-card or something, or do you, is that not doable?
Unfortunately, that doesn't exist right now either. We used to have. The question is, can I forward? Once I create this event, can I forward this to someone? Can I invite someone to this event with this system? And I can't right now. We had that in the past, and I don't know where down the road that was removed to. We also had email and text reminders, and that does not exist anymore either. So the next version of this that we end up doing is going to have all of that. Use iCalendaring, so it ties into Outlook or Entourage or whatever you use to track your events outside of here. Google Calendar, whatever you use, we want to be able to integrate with that seamlessly. So I apologize, that's not there right now.
Oh, don't apologize. The system seems outstanding. Victoria has another question about the write-off. When you're writing off the internet, when you showed us earlier on your Schedule C, I believe it was, do you write off a percentage of that, or can she was asking if you can write off the whole?
Now, that depends on your location. So the question is, how much of my internet can I write off? And it depends on your location, what country you're in, also with states. So in some places you can write off, if you're using it for your business, but you happen to use it, to surf the web too on the side, you can write off all of it. And other places you have to write off the percentage that you used for your business, and you cannot write off the percentage you used to, say, play video games or surf YouTube or update your Facebook status. As far as the definitive answer on how much of that you can write off, you're going to need to talk to your accountant in your local area to do that. Unfortunately, USANA is not a bunch of tax experts, and we can't answer that for you. So do not go off anything we say as far as even in the calculator as being definitive. Make sure you have someone look it over, or at least an application that you do your taxes in, proof that for you.
Okay. And I believe this question was based on an Edit My Business section on your left side there. When you were retitling your business name, any of the reports that you had, like you said, BizWorks, were your reports tied into that business name, or are they all still all together? Do you understand what the question is?
Yeah. So
or did you just create a new business?
So first off, what the name is it's called a Do Business As, DBA, and I'm pretty sure it's completely legal in the U.S., Canada, Australia. I don't know about UK and New Zealand. You'll have to check with your tax experts there. But anyone can have a Do Business As name. Even if you don't have an official company, you can, as Rick Wilson, because I have a tax ID, I can have an alternate name that I do business under. Now, if I go into the Edit My Business and I change this to my DBA, to BizWorks, and save that, when I go to my reports, which I think this is what the question was, will that show up? The only report that actually lists your business name is the Schedule C for the U.S. and the T2124 or whatever the number is for Canada. And you'll see that I brought up this report, and there's BizWorks under business name, which is what I changed before. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, I need to take it a little deeper.
Okay.
So let's say I've operated half of the year as like Mulhern LLC, and then July or August I want to change it to BizWorks. Do I have two sets of reports and two Schedule C's going on, or did it automatically just now create a different business name and business reports, or is it all consolidated into one? Okay,
the question is, if you change your business name in the middle of your tax year, are you going to get multiple reports? The answer to that is no. It's going to have the most current name that you have under Edit My Business. However, if your business retains the same tax ID throughout that whole, so you changed your name but your tax ID remained the same, I don't think it makes a difference because your taxes are not done through your tax name, they're done through your tax ID. So if you've changed your tax ID sometime within the year or quarter that you're doing your taxes for, your accountant is going to have to do two sets of taxes because those are considered two separate entities, in which case for your reports you will not be able to use a standard Schedule C. You're going to have to use the expenses by date range to get your accountant the taxes for those two. But I believe that's very rare. Most people just change their name, not their tax ID.
Okay, great. And then I have one more question here. Do you have time for a couple more?
Absolutely.
Okay, super. You know, when you're viewing your calendar, on the calendar part, and you were saying that you could put in your cell phone and some other, you know, reminders as far as different expenses, can you show a view that only has appointments on there then? Because if you have some other tax issues going up, can you, you know, just kind of tell the calendar what to show and what not to show?
So if I understand the question correctly, you only want to see events that are not expense related, or vice versa. You only want to see events that are expense related. We don't have a way of showing two types of calendars on the same calendar. So every event is the same animal, for lack of a better word, and then you have the ability to tie an expense to any of those. But we don't have a way of saying, just show me the events that don't have expenses tied to those. I hope that answered the question.
Great, that was great.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any other questions they'd like to type into the question area? We've been having some good ones. On your charitable tax toggle, you know, when you were sharing that on the report section stuff, Tom and I share with Children's Hunger Fund monthly, and is there a way that you can kind of toggle those expenditures that it goes to there? Because right now they're not showing up under that. It's saying no report found, exactly what you're seeing there.
Yeah.
On our report, we do that monthly, so.
And I think the answer is right now, and I think this is an issue with this system. At one time, it did do this as part of the section where you could approve the automated expenses coming in. And I think when we changed Children's Hunger Fund a few years ago, the way we do it on the back end, they stopped coming through. And so that's something I need to have my team look at, because I was noticing that today too as I was looking through the system, getting ready to build the presentation. So I guess the short answer is no.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I don't see any other current questions here.
I did want to show real fast too also. I just barely, right here it has potential deductions, and I just clicked on this right here, and Miles year-to-date. It's just a quick little report to see your year-to-date stuff always in front of you, so that you can kind of get yourself hyped up and know that what you're doing is helping your wallet. So just another thing to point out. And also,
great job.
Tax tips. These are just a handful of neat little points that were given to us by now I can't remember his name. But the tax attorney that we worked with, just to give you some ideas on how to make your expenses easier, and some things you should definitely be looking at. So in this case, if you're going to owe some interest on a credit card, always owe it on the card you use for your business. Meaning, if you've got you've got two credit cards, one's for your business and one's personal, and you've got enough to pay one of them off, pay off your personal, because you don't get any tax write-off with your personal credit card. Whereas your business credit card, which you may not be able to pay off this month, you get to write off the interest on that credit card. So just little things to think about to get you in that business mindset and put more money back in your pocket.
Great. Well, Rick, I have another one that popped up.
Yeah.
Can you say something about deductions for a leased car?
Yes. So a leased car, and again, take everything I tell you with a grain of salt, because I am not a tax expert, nor is USANA. But with a leased car, you can actually, just like with a purchased car, you can write off some or all of the expenses related to that lease. And in the case of your leased vehicle, you would just want to go to expenses and add a new expense and put that car in there as an auto and probably other. And then you can set this to recur every month. So say your lease is $500 a month. You've got a sweet new Mercedes, and it's going to go for 3 years. You can set this to repeat monthly for your $500 and end in 3 years, and you're set. Every month that will automatically enter into your tax journal. Now, if you purchased a vehicle, that's completely different. You will not put, and say you got a loan on a vehicle, you will not count that as an expense. That will be an asset, and you will depreciate the total cost of that vehicle over 5 years or whatever the limit is for the size of vehicle. Different, and vehicles are based off weight. So a school bus actually gets a larger depreciation period versus a Miata, if that makes sense. And this is a very complex subject. If you want to know more about this, I'm not the right person to answer those questions. What we do here is just provide a journal to help you track those. You should be speaking with a tax professional to get the actual facts on all of this.
Great. I have another one if you're okay time-wise.
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. This one's from Victoria again. She was asking about your health tax on your expenditures, and she's given out some 3 a.m.s and 3 p.m.s. And would you show us again how you were taking a partial of the health tax and writing it off? So maybe you're doing a percentage of it, or maybe you're dividing the health tax divided by 28 days supply and then writing it off or something.
So there's a couple ways to do that. So let's say one example. So the question is, how do I write off a partial expense? And let's say I don't see, there's a health pack right here. So this is a health pack that's in the system, and it says that it costs $9.88, but I consumed half of that, whereas the other half I gave away. So in this case, I want to say I actually gave away $5 worth of that health pack, and we all know a health pack isn't $10, but let's say health pack is $100, and I gave away half of it, so $50 I gave away. In the description, I've got the part number and what it is, but I also want to add in gave away half of this health pack. Oh, where did it go? And you have to put to who and why. So you got to put the who, the why, and the when, and anything else you have related to that, because if anyone ever comes back and asks about that, you need to be able to tell them without a doubt, you know, what it is I did with that health pack. And the other half, and then you say, I used the other half. So that's why you're only writing off half of it. And
Great.
and this
And you could also add that to the appointment, right, Rick? You could, like if you're going to go meet Sally and you're going to say, I gave Sally, 3 days of my health pack or half of my health pack, correct?
Yep. So you can absolutely do that. And one thing I want to show, because I'm on the expense detail screen, the related events only show events related to that day. So in order for me to see Sally, I need to go to 2012. What's today? It's the, hold on. You think I know that, huh? 12th. And January. And then, hold on. Where's the save? Let's save. Where did it go? There it is. And the events, where did the event go? Alright, I'm going to have to check this out. Oh, list of events. Oh, okay, so this is going to be a confusing one. Okay, because this particular product, which is the health pack, is actually tied to our back end with an existing order that you made, it can only be related to events on the date that it was purchased within our system. But you can, actually, I may be lying to you. Let me change this. Because these are tied to actual orders on the back end. So let's save this. It should bring up the events. Oh, I lied to you. So if you change the date on this particular product, it will actually give you the event. So there's golfing with Sally. So I gave Sally, so that's my who right there. Which is also in the event itself. So now that it's tied to an event, I hit save. If I look at this now, I can see golfing with Sally is the event tied to this product that I gave away. I can click on that and it will take me over to the event. The event has its own description that's separate from the expense. If you create an expense from the event, it will automatically assume the description from the event itself, which will save you some time. But you can always override that by going to the expense itself and then changing that. And then now if I go back to golfing with Sally, there's all the expenses related to this event, and now it has a different description even though it's tied to this event.
Outstanding. Well, thank you, Rick. That's all the questions I have, so I'm going to mute myself and let you continue with your call. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. That's all I have for tonight for the training. I'm going to switch over to the final screen. Like it says on the screen, thank you so much for joining us today.